All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the NH Experience with my special guest. She's from the Los Angeles Sparks. I like to call her a defensive technician because she is adamant up and down the 94 feet. Had a really top-notch career thus far. And also, she's had a great story getting into the WNBA. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, how her faith has been able to elevate her to a higher plateau in keeping up with being a great athlete as well as a great individual. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Tierra Ruffin Pratt, better known as TRP. What's going on? How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
Hey, just trying to get through this COVID-19 quarantine like everybody else.
Like everybody else. I hear that.
So, first of all, I consider you a defensive technician. I've seen you out on the court. I don't want any parts of you. I wouldn't want to practice against you. I want to keep my dignity the way it is. But talk a little bit about how you've been able to be that defensive technician, not just from a physical standpoint, but mentally as well.
Um, I think more than anything, I've just kind of accepted a role, and just kind of tried to become the best at it. Um, it's just started from when I was younger. I just had that defensive mindset. Growing up, I played with the boys, and then once I started playing AAU with the girls, I played up. I was playing with Boo Williams when I was 13, so that was my only way I was gonna get on the court is if I played defense, and that kind of just carried over with me. And in this league, you find your role, you find your niche. You can be in the league for a long time because everybody wants to be a scorer. Everybody's a scorer in college, but once you get to the league, it's a little bit more difficult to be that scorer in every aspect. So I kind of just honed into my role, being that defensive stopper, to get minutes and be on the court.
Now you talk about defense, but also you had another defensive specialist in Elena Beard. How influential was she as far as finding the little nooks and crannies as far as playing defense, maybe playing better defense, knowing certain opponents you have to play a certain style of defense against? How did that help you with your game?
Oh, it was amazing to be able to play with AB last year. She taught me so much, a lot of stuff that I thought I already knew. But she just helped me build them small, little minor details, just to help me to become a little bit better. Just learning from her, she's just somebody I looked up to. Part of the reason I even ended up in LA last season was because of her, and just being able to shadow her. I was just a sponge all last season. Asked her as many questions as possible. Um, Talked to her as much as I could just to learn how to just be better on the defensive end and finding my areas on offense where I could be better.
No, that's fantastic. I mean, when I look at, obviously she's had a great career herself. When you look at it, but let's talk a little bit about your journey because your journey has been absolutely nothing short, but heart wrenching, inspiring. You've gone through ups and downs, and when you look at what has transpired, talk a little bit about. Obviously, you weren't drafted uh,
Hmm.
originally, so talk a little bit about that and how your faith propelled you upward when it comes to being determined to make a team and then being a part of the Washington Mystics hometown team.
Yeah, just wasn't drafted, but I got a call from Mike Tebow not too long after the draft, maybe not even an hour after the draft. I got a call from Mike Tebow, just telling me he wanted me to come to training camp. At that point, I wasn't really. I would say I didn't really know much about what he meant when he said he wanted me to come to training camp. So I talked to a couple of people, talked to my agents, and they were like, "It's a great opportunity." I had a couple teams call and say they wanted me to come to their training camp, but I just thought it made more sense just to be able to go home and be around family, give me that extra motivation, the extra push. Um, so I thought that was just the best route for me to take, in the aspects of in any aspect, just being home and being around my family.
Now, you played 6 seasons with the Washington Mystics. How was that experience for you? Obviously, the ups and downs, smiles and frowns that you had to go through to be a player of your caliber. Like, what are some of the lessons that you learned, and what some of the victories that you gained by playing on the Washington Mystics during that time?
Oh, it was a great experience. Just coming in my first year, everything was new. It was a new coaching staff, so everything was new. Everybody was on the same even playing form and playing platform. So I think that was the start of something that just grew, and I just built with the city, because they weren't a great team before we got there. And over the course of my 6 years there, we had our ups and downs. We My first year made it to the playoffs, and they hadn't been to the playoffs in a while. Uh, I grew up from being a kid uh, to being an adult, and all in all, I was able to be at home while I was doing it and be around my family. My family got to come to pretty much all of my home games, and they even traveled to some of the closer games like New York and Connecticut. So just being able to have my family on the journey with me, which is a great experience.
No, that's awesome. I mean, when you look at what the determination it took for you to, I know sometimes with certain athletes, sometimes and speaking to other athletes, sometimes it's hard. It's harder being at home than it is being miles away because you have so many things
Right.
pulling on you. You know, yeah, sometimes distractions. How many people hit you up for tickets once they found out you were on the squad?
Man, a lot at the beginning, but I think I put a stop to it early, because if you let people like try to rush you like that and take advantage of you, then it'll be harder in the long run. So I had a set number of tickets that I got every game, and I always gave them to my mom. My mom knew who they went to, and that was just the way I handled it. But even the people who asked me for tickets and I didn't get them tickets, they still bought tickets and came to the game. So I had a lot of support just being at home. That was one of the best things about my first few years in the league, that I was able to literally play in front of the same people I played in front of when I was in high school, because a lot of those same people followed me through my journey through college and even came to the games in DC. So that was probably the best thing. I think a lot of people make it hard being at home because they let people distract them and pull on them. But my family, they did their own thing. They only thing they was worried about at the end of the day was my ticket left for the game. They didn't bother me no at no other time. Went to practice. I did my own thing. Lived in my own place. I was never like stuck anywhere where they were able to just bother me nonstop. They knew I had my own career going, so they didn't really give me a hard time with anything.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's gonna go against you. I think once you put your foot down, I don't think nobody's gonna cross that line. I don't think the habitual line steppers, as they are, is gonna happen. I saw how you. I see how you move on the court. You have such determination. You know, just watching you practice, being able to cover the team, watching how your focus and your approach to the game, and tenacity that you show, along with the love that you have for the game. To me, I think a lot of players can take note because of how you approach the game, and how you approach the game is how you play the game, and that's why I feel like you play at such a high level defensively. Now you spent 6 years in the DMV. Now you got to move all the way to the West Coast to Los Angeles. Now, what influenced your decision to become a part of the Los Angeles Sparks?
Um, it was difficult for me to make the transition, because I always tell myself that I would never go play on the West Coast, just because I was on the East Coast. Like, I was the East Coast girl. Like, I thought I would play my whole career in DC, but I think I needed a change, and just to help me grow as a person, and get away and be away from my family and understand the dynamics of like being a professional and just doing things on my own and by myself. But really, Elena Beer really had a lot to do with me coming to LA. Um, a couple years before I came, they wanted me to come really bad. Like, the GM Penny, she hit me up. She was calling my agent nonstop, but I had already had it in my mind, like, I'm staying home. Like, I'm not coming there.
Right.
And she understood. Like, she's from this area, so she understood. She has been through it. So for me, I was like, now this is like the next step in the growth that I needed to take, as a professional, to make that step. And when I talked to Elena Beer, she was like, I said the same thing. I said I would play my whole career in DC. Um, I never wanted to play on the West Coast. Like, that wasn't my style. That wasn't my vibe. She was like, but when I got here, it was one of the best decisions that I ever made. And I was like, I don't know. I don't know. She was like, just think about it. She's like, I can only tell you my experience. I can't tell you what your experience would be like, but from my experience, LA, the people, the team, the organization is top notch. It's just one of the best decisions. She said it was one of the best decisions she ever made. So I thought it over. I talked it over with my family, prayed about it, and I just figured it would be one of the best fits for me. And then being able to learn from Elena was like just pushed it over the top. So that was really the reason I even ended up there, and I think it was one of the best decisions I've made.
I happen to agree with you. I can't believe TRP. They had no love for the West Coast and Death Row. Nah,
No, I didn't. I didn't want to go west. Like I never really enjoyed like being on the West Coast. Not because, and it was maybe because I never had been and experienced it outside of just coming in to play a game.
Got you.
Or coming there for a tournament through college or AAU. But I was like, I'm not really a West Coast type person. Like I'm a city girl. Like I don't want to be at the beach and doing that type stuff. That's just not me. But I ended up falling in love with the city once I got there and was able to actually go out and explore and do things in the city and meet some great people. So I actually fell in love with even being out there.
So, what are some of the places you were able to visit and kind of ingratiate yourself into the LA culture? I know a lot of times I tell people you got to go south of the 10 freeway, you got to go east or west of the 110, you got to go south.
I really explored a lot more than normal because I'm not really like a big like. I don't want to sightsee and all of that. I just want to get to my spaces, learn where I'm gonna eat, where the gym is, where I stay, and that's really it. But my teammates had me going out to certain places. My mom, my aunt came out there for a little while, so they had a list of places that they wanted to go. We did everything you could do downtown, the market, the place where you could go down the slide to see the city. We went to the beaches, of course. Ate at some of like the best places that they say is in LA. And then my trainer took me around to some places because she's from LA, Courtney Watson. So she took me around to some places. So I got to see a lot in a short period of time. So when I was up for free agency again, I was like, all right, I'm gonna sign this deal. They were like 1 or 2 years. I was like, all right, I'm gonna give myself 2 more years here so I can figure out what more I can learn and see and experience here and play with some great players for another couple years. So I think LA has grown on me a lot.
Well, you know what? I said this in the offseason. I said this publicly on my radio show, and I'll tell you since I have you here, I thought one of the best signings in the offseason the Sparks made was you. Because I felt like, no, I'm being completely honest. I ain't just saying this to be cute or trying to, have you on the show, but I really meant that because I felt like you fit so well with the team because the team has such great chemistry, has a lot of good camaraderie. When you walk in the locker room, you can see whether it's a win or a loss, you guys are still one unit. And sometimes with teams, you don't always see that when it's a loss or a big loss, it's like you see people scattered everywhere, but you guys remain, tight knit. And I thought you were a major part of that, especially with the headband game. Because I thought the headband
I'm trying to figure out how to wear the headband this year with my dreads back. It's gonna be a little bit difficult, but we're gonna figure it out. We can figure it out.
Talk a little bit about just having players like Candace Parker, Nneka Ogwumike, Chiney Ogwumike on the team and how that's helped you not just as a player, but as an individual.
Man, it's been great. Actually, Nneka has become one of my best friends. I probably pretty much talk to her, I would say every day or at least 4 or 5 times a week. I'm talking to her either through text or on FaceTime or something like that. So not only did I gain a teammate, I gained like a really close friend. But just being able to see like the work ethic and how hard they work and what they do, like outside of basketball or even before to get themselves in the space to even play the game, was just different for me. Because in DC, I didn't have to really be around. I could do stuff on my own. I was at home. But just being able to be around people that actually genuinely like love the game and love their teammates as people outside of basketball, that was big for me. Just seeing how they work and how they handle themselves outside of like the basketball atmosphere, with Candace being a mom, being able to be a mom and a full-time like player and do her own stuff outside of basketball. Like that's an amazing thing. Like not too many people can do that. You don't see it too often. She has so much that goes on outside of basketball, and she does her work like during the season in basketball. Then seeing NECA go playing basketball on the court, then seeing her be the president of everything. So just seeing that. Same with Shanae, she does the same thing. She's playing, she's on the executive committee, she's doing her ESPN thing. Like those players, even with AB, that's how I learned. She was becoming a mom that year, last year. Still going into like broadcasting. Just seeing so many facets of the people around you, and it's being able to see that and inspire you to do something outside of basketball, but even just be great on the court, because they're gonna push you. They don't like to lose. Like they gonna go 100% every day in practice, go hard. So it pushes you and motivates you to go hard, even on them days where you don't really feel it, you don't really have it. You got teammates that's gonna push you and push you to that next level.
2 quick questions before I let you go. What is TRP listening to? What is she bumping to get her through this quarantine and just get you back focused on possibly getting ready for the season?
Man, people ask me that all the time, but I listen to gospel like all day, every day.
Okay.
And every now and then I throw some R&B on. I'm not a big rap fan, but I'll listen to it if it's on. Like if somebody get in your car, you put on some music that you think that they're gonna listen to. So it kind of varies. I listen to different types of music, but when I first thing I play in the morning or when I get in my car, it's gonna be some gospel.
Got you. Get you ready for the day. I hear you. Last thing, top 5 all-time WNBA players in your estimation.
Oh, you put me on the spot with that one.
Come on, TRP. I know you got it. I know you got a whole bag. I know you got a bag of players you're gonna put in there.
I gotta go with Cheryl Swoops.
Okay.
Cynthia Cooper.
Okay.
I was a big fan of Tina Thompson, Diana Taurasi. I don't know.
Well, you know what? You gave me 4. That's good.
4.
You gave me. Because I know it's tough. That top 5 is tough. I mean,
I never like sat down and said, "Oh, this is my top 5," and
yeah.
Like everybody always says, "Oh, this is top 5 in the NBA." That's easy to list off. But in WNBA, I never like sat down and was like, "Oh, this is my top 5 for sure." Like
I feel like the NBA is easy and it gets more recognition. And I feel like there's so many great players in the WNBA that don't get enough recognition that they should, because these ladies, like you yourself, but ladies before you have played extremely hard night in and night out. So I always try to give some type of pathway to like WNBA players so they could get recognized too.
Yeah, that's good. I'm gonna get back to you on that. My 5 might be different when I sit down and actually think about it, but those 4 just popped out on the top of my head. And if I add 5, I would probably add Dawn Staley.
Ooh, okay.
On there.
Okay. Some heavy hitters. Okay.
Yeah, but then it's hard because then you got players like Candace, you got Candace Parker, you got players like
I mean, you got
Maya Moore, like Simone Augustus, like those players win championships, you know? So I will want in there somewhere.
Well, you know what? Hopefully the season to get started, and I get a chance to talk to you about that later on in the season, and we can come up with something.
Yeah, we're gonna come up with something. I'm gonna think about that for you.
All right, I appreciate that. Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. I know you got a lot going on, trying to get everything together, and hopefully, I'll see you sometime this season as we get the season rolling through this pandemic. And thank you so much for your time. Hopefully your family is safe and you continue to be safe as well.
You do the same.
And let everybody know where they can follow you on all social media aspects.
I'm only on Instagram. TRP 14 is my Instagram handle. I'm not on Twitter. I have a Facebook, but I rarely get on there, and that's just my name, TRF and Pratt. Other than that, I'm not a big social media person.
All right, well, that's all you need right there. Thank you so much, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
All right, have a great one now.
You too.